What's up, movie nerds and basketball geeks? Welcome back to Movie Ball. For the 5 of you that watch this Dynasty League series that are in my actual league, thanks for watching. Let's just jump right into it because why are we going to waste time? I'm currently wasting time by trying to think of a joke. Let's just get to the fucking start of the video. Week 2 matchup saw James go against myself in a game which he ultimately pummeled me in. He scored something over 1,000 points, which doesn't happen too often, so you know that his team is legit. I scored close to 850 points, which is pretty good, and good enough to beat almost every other team in the league this past week, aside from maybe 2 others, so it was just the fact that I went up against a juggernaut in James. Ish defeated Cam in a very close matchup, only winning by 10 points. Again, this is very impressive for Cam, who has an injury-riddled team, who is trying to drop players consistently to get those early week wins. Unfortunately, it's not working just yet. Hopefully, it can pan out, but it doesn't look too great. On the other hand, Ish has the injury-plagued Warriors in Draymond and D'Angelo, and then the rest of his team is just not really playing up to par. I'm talking about Chris Paul, who has been very lackluster, Julius Randle, who is not playing up to par, and then we have even Nikola Jokic, who is still great but needs to pick it up more and get those numbers higher if Ish really wants to compete. Sam easily beat Anthony by over 300 points this week, and that's with Steph Curry now being sidelined for 3 months. That's a pretty big loss considering we all expected Steph to put up MVP-like numbers this season, but in the grand scheme of things, Sam's team is so good that it's not really going to make much of a difference, especially if he winds up coming back. CJ beat the other Ospina in Geo, with Geo's top performer of that matchup being Jonathan Isaac. That's both a good and bad sign. It's good in the terms that Jonathan Isaac is young and his potential and future seems to be shaping out if he's putting up these pretty decently big numbered fantasy games. It's a bad sign if he is the top performer of his squad, though. He's got Ben Simmons out there. Why is Ben Simmons not doing better? Jason Tatum, who is improving, but where is that quote-unquote superstar potential that he should be flashing right now? Mitchell Robinson. It's a little concerning, but I wouldn't get too carried away after just 2 weeks. And for the 5th and final matchup, Karthik dominated Josh by almost 400 points. Keep in mind that Towns is on Josh's team and he had to sit because of him and Embiid's tickle fight. He had to miss 2 games. But also Karthik's team is just very good and it's built to win now, and Josh really didn't have a chance to win this week anyway. Looking at the standings, I still remain atop the East with the only win in the conference. This is a weak-ass conference, and by league rules, I am in 2nd place. That sucks. Not to toot my own horn, but I already look like the team that will come out of the East. It's only 2 weeks, so that's a bit of an overreaction, but Josh, you ain't making the playoffs, bro. Geo isn't with that injured-ass squad, so, looking at all these teams, I have a pretty good chance. I will obviously lose in the first round, but it'll look like I make it there. On the Western side of things, yeah, it would suck to be in this conference. As I said last week, Ish will start winning, but he better hope he's done losing because just 1 loss could have his ass at the bottom of the conference for a while. No one else has lost yet, but I'm willing to bet CJ does against James this week. Who unfortunately cracked into the unfortunates this week? Well, as I already stated, Steph Curry is out 3 months with a broken hand. That's very unfortunate, is the unfortunates. The Warriors are fucked, but Sam isn't. As I said, his team will carry the load. His team is stacked. He will get to the playoffs without Curry. It's a win-win for Sam because if Curry comes back like he's scheduled to, then great, he'll be even stronger than he is now. If Curry doesn't come back and he's confirmed out for the entirety of the year, he can trade him for, he can market Curry to a non-contender and get a deal of players and picks back that could help him finish off the season with a championship. That's my advice to you, Sam. Who else? John Collins joins DeAndre Ayton in the what the fuck were you thinking 25-game suspension for drug use. Unlike Sam's loss of Steph, this is a brutal blow for CJ's team. John Collins is a top 3 or 4 player for CJ's squad, and although it's Dynasty and he has him for the long haul, CJ needs those wins early on in this season. He's in the Western Conference, as I said. He needs to stack up those wins, position himself better, because if he falls behind in that West, it's going to be near impossible to get back up the ladder and gain the ranks, because that Western Conference is stacked. And CJ has a win-now team, so he really needs to win now, although it's hard to imagine winning now when you have Mike Conley on your team. Steven Adams got banged up with something, and I dropped his ass because he's been pretty terrible to start the season. He's averaging under 13 fantasy points and only 6 actual points on the season. That sucks. It's weird because Steven Adams last year averaged something around 25 fantasy points, maybe even more. He was very steady, and, he gobbles up boards still, but I tried to trade him, and no one was buying it because obviously when you have a string of poor performances to start the season, everyone's going to notice that. I'm imagining he picks it up, but I was just like, you're missing games and you're not doing well. I can find someone better. I can cut ties with you because I'm not going to bring you back anyway. I believe Cam picked him up, so hey, if he plays well, then Cam is... Draymond Green is out as well, like I said earlier, and I don't know for how long. It could be a few days, could be a few weeks, but overall it's a loss for Ish because Draymond is a top performer. He was a top pick, especially without Steph and a banged-up Warriors team. If Draymond's in there, he's going to be putting up monster stats, I'm imagining, so he could really use Draymond back. He will probably be very special when he returns, but for now... And then we have Miles Turner and Justice Winslow, who were both out for Karthik's team. And while it sucks to lose 2 20 fantasy point per game scorers, Karthik's team's fine. He'll be fine. They're looking to come back very soon. Maybe by the time I upload this video, they'll have played already. But, Karthik's team's good. He'll get them back. He's fine without them. Go to the next part. And since there were no trades for the trade corner, we're just going to jump right into the top 5, with this week's top 5 being the top 5 most disappointing players of the season thus far. At number 5, I've got Mitchell Robinson. Robinson was looked at to have a huge improvement this season after averaging 2.5 blocks and filling up the box score in his rookie year when he got the minutes. Unfortunately, he's only averaging 19 minutes per game, and it's kind of a rotation issue with so many power forwards that the Knicks have, but a lot of that is his own fault as he can't stay out of foul trouble. He can't stop fouling. This is a huge issue in his game because he's very good, but he fouls a lot, and I guess that happens when you go for so many blocks, but he needs to learn how to pull back at times because he's only averaging 19 minutes and grabbing 6 boards, and maybe he's only grabbing 6 boards per game because of his limited time. But again, that's his fault. If he gets the minutes, if he can stay out of foul trouble, he should be fantasy dominant as we all expect. At number 4, I have Clint Capella, another center. Last season, Capella averaged about 30 fantasy points per game, which is very good. This season, he's at about 23, which is still pretty good, but not like second-round value good. Take into consideration that he's not even averaging 10 rebounds per game so far, and he's only got 2 double-doubles on the season. Clint Capella's been very disappointing, and I know the Rockets have been pretty dysfunctional to start the season, and you could argue that maybe Russ is stealing some of his rebounds, but Clint should definitely be better than this. At number 3 is Mike Conley. Now, I've never been big on Conley from a fantasy perspective as he gets hurt quite a bit and doesn't offer much in the way of rebounds or assists to be taken over higher quality guards. But with that being said, he still has been decent enough over the past couple of years that you would imagine he would be averaging at least around 18 fantasy points. But this year, he's barely averaging 9. He's already had 2 negative 4-point performances on the season. He shot 1 for 16 in a game, and he's not even averaging 4 assists per game. He has been terrible, and if he doesn't turn it around soon, he'll be even more of a terrible pick than I already thought. In second place, we've got the New York Knicks in Julius Randle. Remember in one of my past videos when I said he could be an all-star this year? Probably not because no one watches my fucking videos, but I said that. But no, not like this, he can't be. He has 2 double-doubles on the season that got him 16 fantasy points or less, and he's only averaging 13 and 10. He averaged that in his first full year in the league. So I don't know if it's the Knicks dumpster fire organization latching onto him, but he's been pretty ass. And the most disappointing player so far this season to me is none other than Zach LaVine. This is a player that has had a roller coaster ride of games to start the season with averages of 20 fantasy points, 41 fantasy points, and then 4 fantasy points, and it doesn't get much better after that. Since then, he hasn't topped 18 fantasy points, with his latest outing being 13 fantasy points. He is wildly inconsistent. He is not shooting the ball efficiently at all, and he needs to take over as the top guy in Chicago. I understand the Bulls also have rotation issues and are a little dysfunctional as well, but he should still be balling out. We all looked at him to be an all-star this year, a first-time all-star. He should be improving, averaging something like 25, 5, and 5. I understand that it's still early in the year, but He hasn't been good, and he needs to be better. That was Dynasty League episode 3. Look forward to these in the future, or don't. I don't give a shit. Let me know though in the comments below if you watch these videos. Please let me know, because I was thinking about doing this more of a bi-weekly thing, because I feel like weekly it kind of gets stale. I kind of regurgitate the same kind of information, so I could go over standings after a couple of weeks, see how things changed, go over, I'll have more trades and more news and unfortunate injuries and stuff like that to discuss, whereas every week it might just be not so much to talk about. So just let me know what you guys want, if you want weekly or if you want bi-weekly. No one's going to comment. It doesn't matter. I'll have to make this decision myself. What can I compare smashing the like button to today? You ever take a shit?